Hello everyone. Okay, we're gonna dive right into the sketchbook tour. I always draw something on the front of my sketchbooks just to stop myself from getting nervous about messing it up. If I draw something messy and kind of wild on the cover, I don't care how the rest of the sketchbook looks. I know it's some weird psychological thing, but otherwise I tend to get fear of the blank page. It's a very common syndrome among artists. So yeah, that's my little piece of advice for that. So the first page, this was actually a paint-along I did with my friends from college. We hadn't talked to each other in a while, so we decided to do a little video chat and just catch up, but also paint something. So I talked them through how to paint it and we all did it together, and I thought it was really fun. They were a little bit nervous, but I think in the end they enjoyed the process. You might recognize this spread because it's part of another video I made about my Pathways series, and it's just little thumbnails, little color compositions for bigger paintings that I'm working on. And I like to do this before I jump onto a big canvas because it just helps me work through some composition ideas and figure out what colors I want to use or not use. The final painting always changes, but this is like a really quick way to just get the ideas flowing. And I'll also write down notes about the project, just keeping myself on track, keeping my concept at the forefront of my mind. On the left side, these are all gouache paintings. On the right, we have some watercolor. This one on the left is also going to become a larger painting. It's called Lochside, and it's inspired by an area near Loch Marie, a little pathway that kind of winds along the water. It's funny though because I really love the spontaneity and the kind of wild freedom I have in my sketchbook, and it's so hard to replicate that on a larger scale. It's something that I've just always struggled with, and so lately, instead of trying to replicate this exactly on a larger scale, I try to think about the feeling this gives me and work with that. And it's never going to be exactly the same on a larger scale because I'm using different medium, but I've always just loved sketches more than bigger finished pieces anyway, not just of my own work, but other artists as well. I follow a lot of artists online who share their sketches, whether it's just drawing or it's painting, and I'm just in love with the freedom we seem to have when we're in our sketchbook, and it just feels like a more direct connection to the artist's mind. Anyways, on the right we have some watercolor pieces that I did for a paint-along. And on the left side we have another gouache painting, and this one is inspired by my local forest. It's also going to be a bigger piece in my Pathways series. And then on the right we have a couple watercolor and ink paintings. These are painted on location on the West Coast. So you might remember that from a video I did this summer, taking a little day trip to the coast and just seeing the amazing scenery but getting eaten alive by midges. Still totally worth it though. This is another spread from that trip. It's all watercolor with a little ink thrown in. On the left we have some watercolor paintings. These are just a couple quick kind of warm-up studies I did before I did a paint-along about rocks and waterfalls. And if you look close up at this one, you can see all these tiny little scratches, and that was achieved by scratching the paper with a palette knife while the paint was still wet. I think this page shows why I love these sketchbooks, because the watercolor just does exactly what you want it to do. And like, you get these beautiful soft gradients, but there's still a little texture showing through. On the right side, we have an ink drawing rock study, just something I made up, but it's inspired by painting and drawing on the coast, which I've shown plenty of videos about this summer. And I don't know, I just love drawing rocks. It's so relaxing to me. I just can kind of calm my mind and play with all these weird little shapes and different facets of the stone. You might recognize this left page from a recent video as well. It's a sea stack at a place called Cullen, and it's a place I paint and draw a lot. And I wanted to do a quick little rock tutorial for my Patreons. And I think this was also when I was testing out my new Rotring Isograph pen with a really tiny 0.4 nib, which I love, by the way. It's a little challenging on rough watercolor paper, but in this case it worked great. And the background is black watercolor. On the right side, we just have a random watercolor painting of some fields in Scotland. And on the bottom, we have just a couple pencil thumbnails. Okay, so this page is inspired by a garden I went to, and they had all these beautiful fruit and veg, and there were butterflies, flowers, it was just like a painter's dream. And I was honestly overwhelmed by the beauty. So I did this one on location up here on the left. This is just pure watercolor. And all these other ones are watercolor, but it was back in the studio. So I just used my memory as well as some reference photos I took at the garden to paint these. And then we went to Applecross, and there's another video you can go watch if you're interested. I painted a few things on location. And I tried to write a couple notes and capture little details, like for instance, this is the little wooden hut we stayed in. And there were all these beautiful rowan trees with bright red berries around us. And lots of boats, either on the water or docked or on the shore. And then a couple like places that we stopped, and I was able to squeeze in some paintings. There are lots of red deer in Applecross, and it's really rare for me to paint animals, especially like live, but I just had to because it was so magical that they were just sitting by me while I was painting. And oh my gosh, this is classic. I did not notice this until now. But we have a little souvenir from our days in Applecross, getting eaten by the bugs. Oh my gosh, that's so... I can't believe I didn't notice that till now. Okay. So the next page, we went to the coast for just a day. We had a picnic and we sat out on the rocks. I have a video about that one as well. And that's just a hodgepodge of mediums. So we have some ink, we have watercolor, little colored pencil, just all sorts of stuff. It was a beautiful day there. I didn't want to put any pressure on myself to make like a beautiful looking spread. I just wanted to paint whatever inspired me in the moment, and of course that also included drawing some rocks. So yeah, this will bring back some really nice memories whenever I look at it. And the final page is just a total disaster, but this is from Inktober, just playing with certain some new inks that I bought. Actually, it was this one. It's kind of a brownish green ink, and my white ink by Dalerani. Just like a field and some clouds and stuff. And then on the right we have a couple studies which will become paintings later. And that pretty much wraps it up.
Thank you for joining me for this little sketchbook tour. If you enjoyed it, please give the video a thumbs up. And if you're new here and want to see more, make sure you subscribe before you go. I'll put some links in the description to any of the videos that can be found in this sketchbook. And I also have a video that shares all of my sketching and painting supplies that I use outside. And of course, there are plenty of plein air videos to go along with that. But I'll see you all soon. Take care.